Welcome to Three and Out with Jason and Kevin. I'm Jason. That's Kevin. We are brought to you by CincyJungle.com, SB Nation's Cincinnati Bengals website, and sponsored by Eastgate Smiles Dental Care. Of course, we're streaming on Orange and Black Insider on YouTube and then wherever you get your podcasts. So subscribe and like and follow and welcome back. Kevin, how you doing?
Oh, you right, man. How about you?
There? Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll just a little smudge. Yeah, I'm good. I didn't know if I was gonna make it today. I went over to my mom's to drop off some stuff, and she needed a little bit of handiwork done. So I spent the last 3 hours just fixing things with her. What has to be $20 IKEA tool set.
Oh,
it all comes in a little package about like that big.
Is it orange?
The hammer.
Is it orange
no,
with
it's
like a brown clear lid or a clear
no,
lid?
It's literally pink.
Oh,
and the hammer is probably like about that big, dude.
Yeah.
For the listeners at home, we're talking, I don't know, 8-10 inches, tiny little baby hammer. Anyways, that was fun.
Yeah, but you do whatever Lynn Brown asks because Lynn Brown's a saint, Kevin.
I agree. I should love my mom as much as I do. The fact that you love my mom as much as you do is a very different situation.
Oh, that's okay. Well, this week we wrap up our AFC North division preview with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who we face way back. I think it's week 12 is our first game against the Steelers. So we talked about the Browns first because we played them in week 1. We talked about the Ravens second because we played them week 2. Now we're going to talk about the Steelers. And we'll kind of start off with kind of how we had last with the Bengals offense versus the Steelers defense. Kevin, what do you see when you compare the two sides?
I see Burrow getting sacked. Their pass rush is scary. It's the theme of the AFC North, except for Ravens. But both Browns and Steelers are a nightmare on the front defensive line. And between TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, Jason. But beyond that, their backfield is good, not great. Minka Fitzpatrick, good. Patrick Peterson, good. But other than that, average across the board. Burrow can eat there, assuming he's gonna have time to throw the ball.
Right. So the way AFC North is funny because you have Joe Burrow, who I think we would all agree is a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the NFL. And I don't know of a higher concentration of really great edge rushers in any other division than in the AFC North, because you got Myles Garrett up in Cleveland. And then in Pittsburgh, you got TJ Watt. And TJ Watt is absolutely incredible. He's one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, hands down. Obviously, brother of JJ Watt. But that's not it. I mean, they have Cam Hayward, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. He'll be lined up. Last year, he was lined up over Cordell Volson and just kind of ate Volson for lunch. Now, I'm hoping Cordell Volson's a rookie going up against a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? So that's going to happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year.
It's still going to happen. He's the fourth rounder. Don't get me wrong. He exceeded my expectations. And if you see pictures of him, he looks big.
Oh, I know.
But
yes.
Cordell Volson. Oh.
Yeah.
Jason, are you proud of that?
I am proud. I didn't make it up, but I saw it somewhere. But I'm going to claim that I did.
Never mind.
So, yeah, it's all right. Sorry. Go ahead before I interrupted you.
Oh, just that he's going to get beat. And it's not his fault. He is the player he is. He's the weakest part of the offensive line at this point. I think that's probably pretty universally agreed. That's what I'm talking about. You kind of can't stop all 3 of them.
Right.
Ogunjobi was not the player last year that I think he was for the Bengals. He might take a step forward, recover some of what he had for us, but I'm just not that scared of him. But that doesn't mean that the line is not still plenty scary.
So, they're going to have Larry Ogunjobi, Cam Hayward, and TJ Watt coming off the edge. They have Keanu Benton, who was drafted in the 2nd round this year. He'll be kind of penciled in. I'm assuming he'll start. And then in the backfield, you have some pretty good linebackers, but Patrick Peterson, the veteran, defensive back, he's lost a step. I'm sure he's not the same guy that he was, but he's still serviceable. And then they drafted Joey Porter Jr., the first pick in the 2nd round, which was funny because it was the 2nd round pick, but it was the number 32 overall pick, so it's kind of like a first-round pick. That's because who was it? Was it Miami?
Miami.
Yeah, Miami lost picks. So, and then you have Minka Fitzpatrick, who I think now that Jesse Bates is gone, is probably the best safety in the division.
I would agree.
Yeah. So, however, with the rebuilt offensive line that they have, which for the most part is the same from last year, just one extra player in Orlando Brown Jr. This is the best offensive line that they've had.
Probably one extra player, 2 upgrades. That's important.
Well, right. Yes. One extra player, 2 upgrades because you're kicking Jonah over to right tackle, assuming that's who starts. I'm assuming he will be.
I think he's the starter. I mean, I really do. I think depending on how Collins looks, and I wish him the best. I'd love some real competition at that position. I think Jonah's the starter all year.
No, I agree with that. I would agree with that. But so you have the best offensive line that the Bengals have had probably since 2015, 2016. And in 2015, Andy Dalton was on the list of MVP candidates for a little while before. And I mean, think about that. If that good offensive line could make Andy Dalton look like an MVP, and I'm not trying to trash Andy Dalton here, but he's Andy Dalton. You know what I mean? Then think what Joe Burrow could do back there.
Sure.
And then you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith Jr. Which of those guys do you double? Which of those guys does Minka Fitzpatrick, shade towards? I would assume Chase.
Yep.
They better get there before Burrow finds somebody open. I don't think there's a defense that can cover this offense. There's just not.
No, there is not.
There's not. So, regardless,
as a Bengals fan, and I think you'll understand this, I can't be objective about like elite defensive lines and pass rushers and everything. I hope this season breaks me of that habit, because I do think we're going to see some of the best offensive line play we've seen in a very long time. But I'm gun shy. And every time I look down and I see Minka Fitzpatrick, I see TJ Watt, I see Myles Garrett, I'm going to get nervous because I'm still a Bengals fan of old. But you're right. With this offensive line, if it plays like we think it could, I mean, top 10, low top 10 offensive line? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the 5 to 10 range, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so, closer to 10. But I mean, I'm not complaining. You put Burrow behind
compared to what we've
even
been,
a number 10 offensive line, the dude's going to destroy this league.
Yeah, look what he did over the last 2 years with a bottom tier offensive line. I mean, he almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City for the second consecutive time in an AFC Championship game, and he was missing 60% of his line. They lost by 3. That says a lot. So,
anyways,
I don't think that. I mean, TJ Watt is going to get his. Cam Hayward's going to get his. Minka Fitzpatrick is going to make things difficult, I'm sure, but there's nothing this defense. There's nothing this defense can do. If the Bengals offense is clicking, and by week 12, as long as they're healthy, they should be clicking, fire on all cylinders. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That is something that does worry me. Is by week 12, injuries are piling up. I mean, you got to avoid the injury bug. You know what I mean? Maybe we don't and they do. Maybe vice versa. Maybe both of them do. But considering both teams are fully healthy, I think the Bengals offense is not stoppable by anybody.
No.
So, all right.
Nope. I agree. I take the offense takes it in this matchup. It's a I'm going to go ahead and spoil my thoughts on the next thing. They take it by a narrower margin than this incredibly uninspiring Steelers offense, first-our defense. But I'm assuming we're going to get into that after the commercial.
Yeah. Well, we will. The other thing I was going to say is the other thing I want to talk about is you have Joey Porter Jr., who's a rookie, who's either going up against T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, one of the two.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good Joey Porter Jr. is. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter, because when you're going up as a rookie against a top-tier wide receiver, you're going to have issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get burnt at least once. Something like that's going to happen. So, I think the Bengals offense can score. I'm not going to say at will against any defense, but it's about as close as at will as you can get. You know what I mean? Just on paper, just how do you stop them?
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm going to commercial and we'll come back and we're going to talk about the Bengals defense against the Steelers offense. Be right back.
Eastgate Smiles Dental Care is a warm and welcoming environment where expertise and customer service come together. As a local business, they love helping their fellow Cincinnatians manage their oral health and achieve a perfect smile. They pair the latest technology with years of experience to give you a smile worth showing off. They are dedicated to quality and convenience and can even perform dental crown procedures the same day in most cases. You like your smile, but they are here to help you love it. They personalize your care and match your needs. Call them today at 513-528-1150 to learn what they can do for your pearly whites.
Welcome back. We are breaking down the Steelers, their matchup against the Bengals.
For those of you just tuning in.
Oh my gosh, I knew you were okay. So anyway, we're going to jump right into the Bengals offense versus the Bengals defense versus the Steelers offense. So yeah, I'm not. Let's kind of go through the depth chart here. Obviously, you got Kenny Pickett coming back for his sophomore season. You got Najee Harris, who's a very talented running back. Deontay Johnson is a good wide receiver. George Pickens, I think, is going to be a really good wide receiver. Allen Robinson, they signed him in the offseason. Pat Freiermuth, and then their offense. Pat Freiermuth is a good tight end, and then their offense: Broderick Jones, left tackle; Isaac Siumelo, left guard; Mason Cole, center; James Daniels at right guard, and right tackle is Chukwuma Okorafor. For right now, this is just obviously this is a depth chart that doesn't mean anything right now because camp hasn't even started yet. But and the whole everything's going to come down to how well can Kenny Pickett play. Is he going to take kind of a sophomore jump? He played really well the last third.
Really well.
Okay, I'm not going to say really well for a rookie. Objectively, for a rookie, he played well for the last half of the season. I think I want to read somewhere that he might have led the NFL in passer rating for the last half of the year. I don't really remember.
If that's true, it would shock me. I'm not a Kenny Pickett believer. Yeah. I think that it is insane delusion that Steelers fans just keep insisting that he's the second coming. He is Andy Dalton. That's who he is. We as Bengals fans know what Andy Dalton is, so we know what Kenny Pickett is. He is good enough. If you surround him by good talent, he'll play well. If you don't surround him by talent, he will fall apart. That is just the nature of good enough quarterbacks, and that's Kenny Pickett. I will not believe otherwise until I see otherwise. I don't know if you're looking it up. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, but there's just nothing impressive about Kenny
I
Pickett.
don't think that you're necessarily
road quarterback currently playing right now.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I don't think that he is anything. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Mahomes. He's not any. When we rank,
he's not
all
even
these,
Matt Stafford.
I'm right. When I'm saying when we rank all these AFC quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett is not in the conversation. Right?
No, he's not.
I think that they are well coached. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that he has some good wide receivers in Pickens and Deontay Johnson. I'm not sold that Allen Robinson's going to be anything anymore. I do think Pat Freiermuth is a very, very good tight end. I think he's a top 5 receiving tight end in the league.
Sure.
Kenny Pickett, but Andy Dalton, a young Andy Dalton with that team is successful. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I do agree with you that Kenny Pickett is probably, and think about going from Ben Roethlisberger, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback, and then, you lose your quarterback that's been around for 20 years or however long he was, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And then you land on Andy Dalton. I think things could be much, much worse. You know what I mean? You could be
they'll win 9 games.
It could be
absolutely
Mac Jones.
It could be Mac Jones.
So, or it could be what's his face for the Jets that lost his starting job, but he sleeps with everyone's mom, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I mean, know his name anyway. So I'm not saying they're going to be good. I think they're going to be good enough to beat bad teams. That's what they're going to do. That's what Kenny Pickett is. And as he gets more
Tomlin's
experience,
an excellent coach. Where we're crapping on Kenny Pickett, it's the opposite conversation for Tomlin. He's always going to be in the conversation of the best coaches.
Sure.
Just through the upgrades they've made, they're going to have 9 wins. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. One of them may be against us. That's just the way division matchups work. I just don't. It's just weird. I always do my research. I always try to look up make sure I know exactly what I'm talking about, new additions, everything else with before we do one of these shows. Are the Steelers just aggressively boring to you? They have a pass rush, and that's about it. Like, Pickens is good.
Right.
I think he's probably overrated. I'm not saying he's not like very good, but again, they're acting like Pickens is AJ Green. He's not.
No, he's not.
Just not. He's just very good. And they're acting like Pickett's something, and he's not. And this offensive line is good. It's not great. It's good.
I don't even
The
think it's good.
entire, huh?
I don't think it's
You
good.
don't think it's good? I think it's above average. It's at least above average. No, you
I
don't
mean,
like it?
they have a left. Broderick Jones is going to be their left tackle. I mean, I think it's.
But it'll be week 12 before you face them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think when it comes to this offense, I think Kenny Pickett is Andy Dalton-ish, and now I am looking at it. 63% completion percentage for 2,404 yards, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's nothing.
Nothing.
Right. I expect him to take a leap his second year. Most quarterbacks do. But I think there's a ceiling on Pickett.
Yeah.
Here, Burrow's ceiling's way up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Pickett ceilings.
We still haven't seen Burrow's ceiling in my opinion.
He may not have a ceiling. I don't know.
He may just get better forever.
He may get to the point where he doesn't have to wear pads and can just walk the ball into the end zone. That's how good he's going to be. I doubt it. But yeah, I mean, Kenny Pickett, if this comes down to quarterback play, the game's over anyway.
Yeah.
And
it often does. I can't remember the stats, but it's something like 80% of the time the better quarterback wins. Like
how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But
sure. But I mean, I think Najee Harris is a good running back, both receiving and on the ground. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, I think, are both good wide receivers. I don't think either of them are good as Chase or Higgins.
Nope.
Which gives me hope. I mean, they're both good. They'll get open. But it gives me hope that the Bengals. I think I heard I don't know if it was Mike Hilton or Cam Taylor-Britt said they were getting that Sunday work in already because they're having to face the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL in practice every day.
Yeah.
The secondary is, you know what I mean? So hopefully going up against George Pickens and Deontay Johnson isn't a big deal. Allen Robinson, I don't know what he's going to do. I thought when he went to the Rams last year, I was like, oh man, he's going to clean up, and he did nothing. I mean, he looked slow. I don't know if it's, we'll see what he can do there, but I think he's the number 3 receiver right now. Pat Freiermuth does worry me. Pat Freiermuth is going to be very good. But this, what this reminds me of? This Steelers team, I think, reminds me of back when Cordell Stewart was the quarterback of the Steelers. Very aggressively mediocre quarterback with a great running game and a hell of a defense. You know what I mean? And they won Super Bowls like that. And I'm not saying, well, it has. It absolutely has. It's a downfield passing game now. And I don't think that Najee Harris is the bus by any stretch of the imagination. The bus could take a lot of punishment.
Yep.
And the game has changed. And I think that plays in the Bengals' favor because it's now, can you move the ball down the field through the air? And if you can, you'll win. If you can't, you won't. You know what I mean? They can run the ball all they want to keep Joe Burrow on the sideline, but running the ball doesn't create touchdowns. Really, it just doesn't.
No, not anymore.
So, I think the Steelers, if I was going to rank every team out of 10, I'd give the Bengals probably a 8.5, 9 out of 10. The Ravens probably a 7. And then I'd probably give the Steelers a 5.5.
Yeah,
and
they're exactly a 5.
Right. And then I give the Browns whatever, 3, 4, something like that, until they prove me wrong.
Which
maybe a -3. They won't.
They're the Browns.
Right. They're the Browns.
I said it when we first covered them. I don't respect the franchise.
No.
I do not care what moves they make. They can get as aggressive as they want in the offseason. I know we're talking about the Browns. I don't care. I'm talking about them for a second. They literally can do whatever they want. And I will never believe they can actually win games. They've beaten us more often than they have in the last couple of years. I still don't believe they can win against us.
Yeah.
Every single time feels like a fluke. They're the Browns. I don't fear them. I don't care about them.
I'm right there with you, man. I am. So
that got aggressive.
It did. I do think, it's an AFC North game. All these games are ugly. You know what I mean? It's going to be an ugly game. Both of them will be, and I think the Bengals will probably win both of them. I think the Bengals will win with like a score of 24-17 or 17-10, something like that, where you kind of walk away going, oh man, maybe the Steelers are better than I thought. But it's just familiarity. These teams know how to play each other. These games get ugly. I don't think, I used to think the Steelers are the biggest rival for the Bengals. I don't think that anymore. I think it's the Ravens now.
Yeah.
And I don't have this massive contempt for the Steelers that I used to have.
No.
They owned that. Ben Roethlisberger owned the state of Ohio for 2 decades almost. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't, he's gone. I think I respect them a little bit more than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I know Mike Tomlin's a good coach. I know he is.
I will admit that, yeah.
But it's the franchise. I think about this. You have a franchise that's been around for however long it's been around. They have the great history with the Steel Curtain. They have 6 Super Bowl wins. It's a small market team. Pittsburgh's no bigger than Cincinnati. I don't know that for sure, but I think they're around the same size. But it's a small market, blue collar city. It's run really well. They've been in the mix. Tomlin's never had a losing season, but they've been in the mix in the playoffs, Super Bowl, whatever, way more often than they're not.
Yeah.
So,
I just wonder if they're entering where we were a few years back. If they're entering this level of just average play, mediocrity, that they can't rise out of because they're never bad enough to take advantage of the draft in order to do that. It feels a little bit like it, doesn't it? Like, don't you see shades of what we used to be and what the Steelers currently are? So for the next couple of years, we're going to just look at an aggressively average team. The difference being that the team itself is elevated by the coaching,
right,
as opposed to the Bengals, who was,
So I think that the Steelers and the Bengals have traded places.
Yeah,
in some ways, I think for Ben Roethlisberger's entire career, I don't care that Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. I don't care that any of that stuff. The division belonged to the Steelers every year, no matter what. You know what I mean? Yep. I don't know how many times that the only reason they didn't go to the Super Bowl was because Tom Brady got in the way. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But I think that the Bengals now own the division. I think that we'll own the division as long as Joe Burrow is the quarterback of the Bengals, which is hopefully for the next 20 years.
Yep.
And I think the Steelers right now are entering into a period of time where we were when Carson Palmer left and Andy Dalton came.
Yep.
Is we're going to be at worst 9-8, at best 11-7, 11-6. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where we might win the division. You know what I mean? We might beat you every once in a while. We might even sweep you every once in a while. Probably not going to win any Super Bowls, But more often than not, I think they're going to be saying, oh my gosh, Joe Burrow owns Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? That's how I see this playing out. I think the Steelers are going to be better this year than they were last year. I don't know by how much. I don't think they're going to be nearly as good as the Bengals. But I find myself, I don't hate them. I used to hate the Steelers. I don't hate them anymore. I hate the Browns.
Hate them a little bit.
I hate them a little bit, but not like I used to. I hate the Browns.
And the Browns,
but the Browns is out of a lack of respect.
And I hate the Ravens.
Yeah, I kind of hate all of them. And I hate the Chiefs.
I hate the Chiefs.
I don't hate Buffalo.
No, I still don't.
I like
maybe
Buffalo.
because we liked Buffalo going into those games.
Yeah.
We whooped them.
Yeah.
We whooped them once technically, and the other time we were gonna whoop them. So I don't think they like us anymore.
I don't think so either. No, I don't. But that's what happens when you're on top of the mountain. Everybody, you get to look down on everybody. Everyone looks up at you. I say that like we won the Super Bowl over the last 2 years, and we didn't.
No, we didn't. We did. Never mind.
But
I think play about the refs.
Yeah, but I think that we will. I do. I truly believe we will. Maybe.
There's no way we don't win at least one Super Bowl.
Oh no.
3.
Yeah,
under Joe Burrow.
I could see it. I could see that being the case. All right. Anything else? Really, I think out of all the episodes that we've done there's only been 3 for division rival previews. This is the most boring one.
That's what I was saying, man. When you look at the Steelers, they're a boring team.
Yeah,
but they really are to me.
It's like looking at a mirror from 5 years ago.
It is.
I know all about this team because we used to be that team. You know what I mean?
I mean, literally, Kenny Pickett and Pickens. Like, doesn't that feel like
Andy Dalton
and AJ Green?
It does.
I mean, the Steelers version of it, and like I always said, he's not AJ Green. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just the vibe of it.
It does. Anyways. It absolutely does. Where, like, you didn't really do anything big, but you're on T-shirts together because it's Pickett and, or Pickett and Pickens. They're calling the offensive line the picket fence. Picket fences have a lot of holes in them.
Are they really calling it that, or are you just making a joke?
No, I'm not making a joke. That's what they're calling it.
You got to do better, guys.
I know, but am I right?
Hey, all the Steelers fans that watch our podcast, you got to do better. You got to do better. That's awful.
I'm going to correct you. The Steelers fan that happened to catch this podcast on accident, you have to do better. But yeah, picket fence. I think when I think of picket fence, I think of like the one where there's a big gaps between the slats of wood.
I could kick.
It's not a privacy fence. Yeah, it's a privacy fence is much more sturdy. A picket fence, I feel like I could lean on one and it would just fall over.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. You could just kick your way through a picket fence. It's
not good.
Yeah, don't love it. Do better.
Do
better. I thought it was a joke. I didn't even believe they were calling it that.
It's not a joke. Yeah. So
they went from the Iron Curtain.
Yeah. To the picket fence. Yeah.
Sad.
It is.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I know. Well, that kind of thing happens when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that retires, and then they're going to be in this weird trap that we were in for so long. Is congratulations, you're not bad enough to get a top 10 pick, and you're not good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So here's your number 18 pick. Enjoy it for the next 10 years. You know what I mean?
I do.
So eventually they'll have to wait until Kenny Pickett gets bad enough to bench him on his birthday, and then they can go out and get the next Joe
Poor
Burrow.
Andy. Poor Andy. On his birthday.
On his birthday.
On his birthday.
Yep. On his birthday. That was back when I didn't have any faith in Zach Taylor.
Yeah, none of us did, I don't think.
But now I say, F Andy Dalton's birthday.
You got to do what you got to do. It's business.
You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. That was the same year I was saying tank for Tua. Oof, thank God that switched to bungle for Burrow, right? So,
I will always be a slight Tua fan, just because of that period of time.
Yeah,
there's a period of time where I wanted Tua to be our quarterback. I was wrong, and I'm happy I was wrong. But because of that, I always have a little soft spot. I hope Tua survives the season.
I hope he does too. That's one of the few players that, like, there's a part of me that says, "Man, I think you should be done."
Apparently, he talked about retiring.
Yeah, well,
I don't blame him.
Damar Hamlin too. Damar Hamlin's playing.
That's wild.
That was and I'm glad that he is. But I would be scared. So all right. Everything else to say about the Steelers?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither. All right. Well, next week I think, unless something comes up, whether it be news with contract, and hopefully there's some contract news. Oh my gosh, let there be some contract news.
Last thing I read, there's nothing. Like
I'm not expecting.
Don't expect anything soon.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
But next week,
that season, Jason, we knew what it was going to be like.
Yep. Next week we will break down our biggest rival outside of the AFC North, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. Which that will be a fun episode. That will, because there's a lot more competitiveness between the two teams. Kansas City Chiefs. we
got to do the division, and we will. We need to wrap this up. We're rambling. But we had to do the division because of the division. But you always come to the same conclusion. Well, we're going to win. We're better. Whatever. The Chiefs, that's a matchup. It's been proven time and time again. Even though we kind of have beaten them more than they've beaten us.
There's some insane.
It's a coin flip, man. Like, you gotta. It just is. It's just who had the ball last. Like, but yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yep, it will be. All right. So we'll be back next week. We should be back next Thursday. So this should be airing Friday, but. We should be back next Thursday talking about the Chiefs, unless something comes up that's more that we should be talking about, like a contract or an extension news. And then after that, we'll probably talk about like our favorite Looney Tune characters and stuff like that, because we're done. We won't have anything else to talk about. So
have the Bengalian on and figure out what Star Wars characters each.
That would be fun,
right?
Yeah. Is Joe Burrow Luke because Luke is like the main character, or is Joe Burrow Han because Han's cooler than hell?
Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented at everything, not a master of anything, but knows how to use his strengths.
Carries the entire franchise on his back.
Yep, carries the franchise on his back. Come on, man.
Yep. Exactly. I could see it too. I could see an argument for all three of those. All right.
Sure.
Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, this has been on the Orange and Black Insider. Subscribe, like, follow. We are on everywhere where you can get podcasts and on YouTube. This has been brought to you by CincyJungle.com, part of SB Nation, and sponsored by Eastgate Smiles Dental Care. For Kevin, I'm Jason. Have a good weekend. Hoo day.
Hoo day.